Hello and welcome to video 2 for the Intro to R in RStudio. In this video, we're going to load data into RStudio, obtain descriptive statistics, go over how to create a new variable and recode existing variables, create a table, and create some basic graphs. So previously, we talked about objects, we talked about how to install and activate libraries. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set working directories. A working directory tells R where to look for the files and where to save things. So what we can do is we can do this multiple ways. If you know the file path, you can use the function setwd quotes the file path end quotes. Now you want to make sure if you start with a double quote, you end with a double quote. If you start with a single, end with a single. So you have to make sure you're consistent. So we can do that to set our working directory. If you're not quite sure where your file is, what you can also do is go to Session, click on Set Working Directory, and then choose Directory, and then select where that is. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and import our .csv file into R. I'm supposed to say what the file name is, and by saying header equals true, our first row, which is our variable names, is going to be imported as variable names. Here, we're importing the data as an object called CS. So when I do that, we now have our data frame. There's 217 observations of 13 variables. If I expand this, I can see all of the variables listed here. If you're using SPSS data, there's some data on how to go about and import that. There's also for SAS and for Stata. And if you're really interested too, there's a whole package just on importing data called Haven. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you all. And Haven can import lots of different file types like an SAV file, and this will save all the formatting if you formatted your SPSS file. Same thing for a Stata file. Now what I do is we're going to examine the columns in our data set. So column names of the object, that's going to print out in our console window all 13 variable names. We can do str, and that's going to give us, in return, the structure of the object. So CS is a data frame. There are 217 observations of 13 variables. And then $, each of the variables. We know how it's imported within R. The variable type, so we have character, we have integer. If it has a decimal point, it's going to be a num, and so forth. We can also do things like, in the console window, type in view CS, and we can pull up the data set. Within the view, we can also sort it. And there's also a filtering option. What we can also do now is we can use the summary function in R by default. If we do summary parentheses the object name, that's going to return for every variable the minimum, quartile, median, mean, third quartile, and maximum values. For country, since that's character, that's omitted but tells you the class and the mode. That's just all character. If you wanted to perform this on just a specific variable, like summary OECD, whether or not the country is an OECD member, 0 being no, 1 being yes, we get the mean. But given that this is a dichotomous variable, and essentially when you create this into a grouping variable, this wouldn't make much sense. A better option that I like is using describe from the psych package. If we run describe on the entire data frame, that gives us, for all the variables, the variable position, how many responses we have, the mean, standard deviation, median, minimum, maximum, range, skewness, kurtosis, and standard error. The nice thing too with this is if you wanted to save these descriptives as an object, I'm going to call this object descript. So I'm going to run the function, and the results of this are going to be saved to an object. If I double click, it has that information within this too. And if we just drop this with just the entire CS, here's our entire descriptive table. So again, an object can be anything. Now, for most questions you'll be asking about your data will be related to descriptive statistics. So we're going to look at some more descriptive statistics. We're going to look at some graphs and run a statistical test. We talked about summary. We talked about psych. Now let's go ahead and let's recode an existing variable. So as mentioned earlier, corrupt is reverse coded. So higher scores on corrupt mean lower perceived corruption. We're going to reverse code this. So now corruption scores, higher scores mean higher perceived corruption. We're going to create a new object in our data frame, a new variable called corrupt2. We're storing that in the CS data frame. Now to reverse code this, since 10 is our maximum on that scale, we're going to say 10 minus CS $corrupt. So we're minusing each country's corruption score from 10 and then storing the result as corrupt2. When we do that, I'm going to go ahead and show this again really quick. If I scroll over, here's our original corruption score, 2.5. Our reverse coded is 7.5. If you add those together, it equals 10, so that worked. So now a 9 becomes a 1, a 10 becomes a 0, and so forth. We can also do is we can recode a continuous variable into a categorical one, such as taking corruption going from 0 to 10 to categorical of low, medium, and high. Now, sometimes this helps with aiding for interpretation. However, if we create different bins and say all the countries that are between 0 and 3.3, they're going to get given a 1. We're calling that low. So a country with a score of 0.1 is equivalent to corruption that of a country that has a 3. So you lose variability there, though. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to go ahead and discretize a continuous variable. So what we're doing within this code, we're referring to our variable. We're creating a new one called corrupt cat, and then saying, referring to CS $corrupt2, if that is less than 3.3, then assigning a 1 to corruption categ. If corruption 2 is greater or equal to 3.3 and it's less than 6.6, give it a 2. So these are using logical operators, less than, greater than or equal to, and, or you can also do exclamation point equals, and that's not equal to. Our final mutually exclusive bin is greater than or equal to 6.61, and they're getting a 3. So if we highlight and run those 3 lines of code, we now have a new variable, and we can create a table. I'm essentially going to ask, what are the counts for a corruption categ? We have 23 1s, 44 2s, and 83 3s. If we look at the data set and scroll over, if it was missing before, it's still missing. But now we have our 1, 2, 3s. We've discretized a continuous variable. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a label. So we're going to overwrite our corrupt cat variable in our CS data frame. We're going to use a function called ordered. That's saying that these are factors, so it's not a numerical value, that these are essentially an ordered variable. So think of it as bronze, silver, gold in the Olympics. We're going to refer to our object, saying the levels are 1, 2, and 3, and corresponding, so 1, label that a low, a 2, label that a medium, a 3, label that a high. So when we run that, and then we redo our table, now it has the labels. If we look at our data set, it's overwritten that 3, 2, 1 with high, medium, and low. If I look at our variable, it's an ordered factor with 3 levels. So high, medium, low. Or low, medium, high in that order. Now, remember I mentioned OECD, that it's whether or not they're a member of the OECD. 0 is a no, 1 is a yes. We're actually going to recode that from an integer to be a factor. Essentially, it's a grouping variable. So we're going to use the factor function on our variable, and we're going to override it. We're saying the levels is a 0 or a 1, and the labels are no is a 0, 1 is a yes. And when I do a table, these are our counts. We can also do things like crosstabs. So we get two categorical variables at the same time. So I'm doing table, OECD by corruption categ, and I'm storing the results of that table to a new object. And I'm going to go ahead and print that object. So this is how many countries were in the low corruption and were not a member, how many were in medium but not a member, and how many were high but a member. We can also print out the row proportions. So the percentages by row. We can also print out the proportions by column. We can add margins to this. We can also combine the two together. And then we can actually run a chi-square test by using summary on our table. We're also going to go ahead and create a histogram now. So this first histogram, I'm going to run it. It's going to pop open in this plots option. Now, it's really not that pretty. So we're actually going to make some modifications. We're going to change this main label to say GDP per capita. We're going to add a source saying where we got the data. The xlab we're going to leave blank. So when we do this, it's going to change things around a little bit. What we can also do is if we click on zoom, that's going to open up in a new box. We can right click, you can save image as, you can copy it, then save it. You can also do things like click on export. You can copy it to the clipboard, save as an image, or save as a PDF. Let's say that you wanted to calculate the average corruption for each of our groups. We can actually use a function called aggregate. So we're going to aggregate based on corruption category. So we're saying, okay, this is what we're interested in looking at. We're aggregating GDPPC by our corruption categ. We're going to take the mean, and if it's missing, we're going to remove. And we'll store that to a new object called GDP corruption table. Now what we can do then is we can use a bar plot function. We're going to take our table and we'll say, okay, print x. X is going to be our GDPPC count. So if I go over here, x is our average for each group, and the group is there. So our main, I'm adding a label. So main title, GDP by corruption. xlab is GDP per capita. I can also add in a ylab equals parentheses, quotes, corruption category. And if I run that, so we have our low, medium, and high. So we're going to stop here in this video, and when we pick up, we're going to talk about correlations, scatter plots, and regression.